Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have all. We want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut.
What if I told you that everything we knew about the two most famous billionaires in the world, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, could be a lie? What if their battle for power and influence wasn't just a political game, but hid much darker secrets? What if this conflict was not just a battle between two of the greatest minds of our time, but a clash of interests that could change the course of history?
He became a little bit different, and I can understand that, but he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody, and he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
It all started with a tweet. Elon Musk, known for his eccentric statements, blew up the internet once again. He criticized Trump's new bill, but that was not all. This time, Musk threw down a real political gauntlet, claiming that Trump had ties to the most notorious man of his time, Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, you heard that right. Epstein, a convicted sex offender and businessman whose name has become synonymous with the criminal underworld of the elite. Musk claims that Trump is connected to him. And this is coming from a man who has himself been at the center of high-profile scandals on more than one occasion. But as it turns out, this information was not accidental. Musk skillfully seized the moment. He didn't just attack Trump for his policies, he challenged the entire political and business landscape.
We've been watching President Trump in the Oval Office with the German Chancellor, and a lot to get to here, but the most interesting and perhaps important issue, political issue and policy issue, is what President Trump said about his now.
After all, linking the former president's name to Epstein is not just a political attack, it is a real blow to his reputation. And while some supported Musk, admiring his courage and determination, others could not believe what had just been revealed.
Former friend, at least it seems, Elon Musk. And I want to go to Elena Treen at the White House. Elena, it seems as though we saw kind of the unraveling of a bromance real time. And what our viewers saw was what it turned out to be one side of a fight. The other side was Elon Musk real time using his platform X to respond and kind of push back.
But don't think that was all. In response to the accusations, Trump exploded, as expected. He decided not only to deny all the accusations, but also to go on the offensive. His responses were filled with rage, accusing Musk of being abnormal and insane. And the more they argued, the deeper they sank into a swamp of dirty accusations and personal attacks. This war of words left no one indifferent. Who was right? Who manipulated the facts? And who really knew the secrets that the world was not ready to hear?
On many of the things that President Trump said. We're going to show our viewers what happened, but I want you to kind of give a sense of what brought us to this extraordinary moment just a few days after he gave a big glowing goodbye to Elon Musk from the White House.
Elon Musk vs. Donald Trump. One is a symbol of progress and innovation. The other is a figure who embodies political populism. Neither of them is used to backing down, but who will emerge victorious from this billionaire war? How far are they willing to go to prove themselves right and preserve their reputation? In this video, we'll figure out what's behind this powerful conflict, how Musk's accusations against Trump could undermine his career, and what could ultimately happen to the political situation in the US. Get ready to learn what's not being reported in the mainstream news. Stay with us to understand what's behind those headlines.
Strikingly somber when discussing this, and really you could see that it saddened him almost. You could see kind of the emotion in his tone and on his face as he was discussing this. He said, quote, "I've always liked Elon." He said I was very surprised. He said he would have rather had him criticize him directly rather than the spending bill that the president has been working tirelessly with his team to try and muscle through Congress. He said, and this to me was maybe the most notable quote from the president, he said, "Look, Elon and I had being a very key word here, had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore." He said he was very disappointed in Musk. He went on to add that Musk knew about the, quote, inner workings of the bill very intimately, and claimed that he only started to take issue with it and had a problem with it once he left.
In the evening, when the world seemed absorbed in its usual concerns, a storm suddenly erupted that could affect the political landscape of America. Elon Musk, the famous businessman, engineer, and founder of companies such as Tesla and SpaceX, has once again attracted attention. However, this time his tweet was not just another reaction to a political or business situation. This tweet was a real political shot. Musk, always known for his candor and sometimes harsh statements, not only criticized former President Donald Trump's new bill, but also released information that could turn a political figure's career upside down and raise questions that have yet to be answered. Musk, as a person with enormous influence in the tech sector and beyond, could not remain silent on Trump's new bill, which he called horrific. The bill proposed by Trump included radical measures to regulate business and the economy, which, according to Musk, threatened the very principle of the free market, free competition. Musk, always a supporter of innovation and free enterprise, believed that this was an attempt by the authorities to limit the free choice of citizens and producers. He unhesitatingly called Trump's proposal serfdom, and such words could not go unnoticed. But no one expected Musk to go much further than mere political criticism this time. Instead of focusing solely on business and the economy, he touched on more personal and sensitive topics in his harsh criticism. Musk unexpectedly mentioned in his tweet Trump's connection to one of the most notorious criminals of the last decade, Jeffrey Epstein. As shocking as it may sound, Musk directly stated that Trump was linked to Epstein through financial transactions and meetings in elite circles that were not known to the general public. This statement shocked not only politicians but also businessmen, as it affected not just a bill but Trump's entire personal reputation. No one expected Musk, a man who has repeatedly found himself in scandals for his harsh statements and actions, to take such a step. Musk was known for his audacity and candor, but he always remained within the bounds of public morality, so to speak. However, this time his words touched the darkest corners of American political life. Trump's ties to Epstein had long been discussed, but until now there had never been any public confirmation of these rumors. Epstein was convicted of crimes related to the sexual exploitation of minors, and his ties to high-profile figures, including Trump, had always remained in the realm of speculation and conjecture. By making such a statement, Musk not only broke every possible taboo, but also sparked a flurry of responses, from shocked fans to fierce opponents. Musk's open accusation attracted the attention not only of the general public, but also of the world's media, which began actively seeking confirmation of his words. Trump, for his part, could not be accused directly, but the very framing of the question forced him to respond. For Trump, this situation became a real test of the strength of his political image. No matter how he tried to refute the accusations, the essence remained the same. Musk had cast doubt on Trump's integrity regarding his personal connections. It is noteworthy that Musk himself did not provide any concrete evidence, which only fueled speculation and gave those who doubted the veracity of his words even more reasons for discussion. The unexpected mention of Trump and Epstein in the context of the discussion of the law was the latest step in the political standoff between the two billionaires. Throughout his public life, Musk has often faced criticism, but he has usually been in the role of an innovator who challenges the status quo. Trump, on the other hand, has always used his political reputation as a lever of influence. Now, in his own words, Musk has called into question the very foundation of political stability on which Trump's success was built. The mention of Epstein not only exacerbated personal issues but also touched on broader social and political issues related to elites, their connections, and how often they hide their dark sides. Now Musk was no longer just a critical businessman defending his opinion. His statements became the starting point for a war that promised to overshadow all previous conflicts. At first, it was just a political statement, then it became a personal accusation. In addition, Musk used his platform to amplify this accusation in the eyes of the public, turning his tweet into the epicenter of discussions, not only in political circles but also among the most high-profile figures in the business world. Trump, finding himself in the role of defender, was forced to respond to such serious attacks, and soon his support from politicians began to wane. Musk's tweet was not just a reaction to the bill, it became a symbol of the clash between two worlds, the world of innovative technology and the world of political elites. This moment was not just a turning point in the relationship between Musk and Trump, it was a signal of how personal reputations can be destroyed when these two worlds collide at such a high level. After Musk posted his tweet, the reaction was swift and overwhelming. Thousands of responses immediately appeared, from enthusiastic fans to fierce opponents. Musk, as always, was prepared for a barrage of criticism, but his words did not go unnoticed. For his supporters, it was a revelation, a bold and uncompromising view of political reality. For others, it was just another step in his now familiar game with public opinion. Musk had challenged the system before, and this was only the beginning. He seemed to truly believe that his statements could shake the foundations of politics and business in the US, and now this tweet was not only a personal attack on Trump, but also a challenge to the very system of power. On the other side of the spectrum were ardent supporters of Donald Trump, who perceived Musk's accusation as an attack on the president himself and his personal honor. For them, Trump was not just a political figure, he was a symbol of the fight against what they called the deep state, against the elites who allegedly manipulated world politics and the economy. These people saw Trump as a defender of ordinary citizens and felt strongly threatened by figures such as Musk, whom they considered part of the same globalist circle. They began to actively defend their hero, accusing Musk of personal vendetta and jealousy. In their eyes, Musk was not just a businessman, but part of a much larger scheme seeking to undermine Trump's reputation. This moment became further proof for them of how elites with influence in the media and technology manipulate public opinion. Trump supporters did not limit themselves to the usual comments on social media. They actively joined the debate, accusing Musk of using his high position to interfere in political processes and break established norms. Musk, in turn, did not give up and continued in his characteristic style to fuel the conflict, thereby exacerbating the public confrontation. He used every opportunity to reinforce his statements, emphasizing that it was precisely these hidden ties between Trump and Epstein that could be the basis for his political success. For Musk, this was not just a political war, but a chance to demonstrate his independence and challenge his most powerful political rival. With each new tweet, Musk not only defended his point of view, but also touched on more personal topics. He claimed that Trump, despite his popularity, had long since ceased to be an honest man, and that his successes in the political arena had been achieved not so much through political merit as through old connections and the dark stories behind his career. Musk argued that the time for political and business manipulation was over, and that the new world needed new leaders, those who were willing to speak the truth openly and honestly, without looking back at old agreements and connections. In response, Trump and his supporters launched a massive campaign to destroy Musk's reputation. In some Trump circles, Musk was portrayed not just as a competitor, but as part of a new political threat that challenged the principles of the free market and the economy. In their eyes, Musk, with his social initiatives and accusations, had become the embodiment of what they called cultural Marxism, an ideology that seeks to destroy established values. It was not just about politics, but about a culture war, with Musk at the center of the epicenter. Musk continued his campaign, arguing that Trump, playing on old connections and hidden interests, had become the one standing in the way of progress and innovation on which America's future was built. He argued that the old political regime to which Trump belonged was no longer capable of addressing important issues such as global threats and economic inequality. For Musk, this was not just a battle for the truth, but for a future that, in his opinion, could only be built through a complete transformation of society and its institutions. Trump, in his view, was too stuck in the past to cope with the challenges of the present. Over time, the conflict between Musk and Trump took the form of not just a war of words, but a real show that attracted attention not only in the US but around the world. Musk and Trump began to use each other as PR stunts, each in turn trying to manipulate public opinion and promote their own interests. There was no room for the weak in this confrontation. Both billionaires were ready to go all the way, regardless of the consequences for their careers and reputations. This moment in history was significant not only for Musk and Trump, but for the entire US political and business sphere. For some, it was an example of how technology and politics merge into a single entity, while for others it was a reminder of how easy it is to destroy a person's career if they are subjected to pressure from public opinion and the media. There were no clear winners or losers in this confrontation, only a multitude of questions that will remain unanswered for a long time to come. The conflict between Musk and Trump, as expected, left a deep mark on the public consciousness. These two billionaires, two giants of the modern economy, began to cause a real stir among all segments of society. And despite the loudness of the public war, its consequences turned out to be much deeper than anyone could have imagined. With each new attack and response, they not only destroyed their own reputations, but also disrupted the political and social landscape of the country. When Musk and Trump began to openly battle on social media, public attention shifted not only to their personal differences, but also to more global issues. Their dispute became a symbol of a new phase in politics, where entrepreneurs and tech moguls began to play a leading role. It was no longer just a traditional battle between parties or political movements. Issues that affected the future of society, the economy, and even culture were at stake. Musk and Trump became the faces of a new political divide that included issues of free speech, globalization, and even the fight for truth. But the longer this conflict continued, the clearer it became that neither of them was going to back down. Musk, as a man with a keen sense of justice, continued to accuse Trump of political manipulation under the guise of economic rhetoric, while Trump continued to use his experience and popularity to stir up the right-wing electorate by appealing to their fears and discontent with the elites. Both sides had their motives and goals, but it was becoming increasingly clear that the game was not only about electoral votes, but also about public opinion, which had now become decisive in this endless war. The public reaction was predictable. The division into two camps only intensified. Trump, remaining popular among a significant portion of the conservative audience, attracted people who saw his fight with Musk as a symbol of the defense of traditional values, while Musk's fans, on the contrary, began to perceive him as a hero trying to take the country to a new level where innovation and freedom are paramount. Neither side held back, and public statements became increasingly personal. It was no longer just a political conflict, it was a battle for influence and the future. Musk, with his reputation and ability to manipulate the masses, continued to act boldly and aggressively. His tweets became increasingly candid, repeatedly touching on the dark corners of Trump and his ties to Epstein, turning this into his main line of attack. For his part, Trump used his platform to strengthen his support among conservatives, defending his reputation and claiming that Musk was nothing more than another globalist who wanted to destroy America. For Trump, this conflict was an opportunity to increase his influence and become a symbol of the fight against corporate interests and the enemies of the people for his supporters. As the conflict escalated into what could be called a full-blown media war, the media and journalists began to literally hunt for every new tweet, every public statement, every new development. Information spread at lightning speed, and everyone involved became the center of attention. At that time, new rumors began to surface, such as that Musk had known much more than he had publicly stated, and that his attacks on Trump were hiding much more serious motives. Some claimed that Musk was acting in the interests of global interests, while others said that he simply wanted to secure political influence and use this war to promote his technological initiatives. Some even suggested that Musk and Trump were actually playing the same game in this war, and that everything that was happening was nothing more than part of a hidden political spectacle. Trump, despite all his public statements of innocence, found himself in a very difficult situation. His business ties, his old connections with Epstein, and his ambiguous role in the political context were brought up again. Epstein was dead, but his shadow continued to haunt many high-profile figures, and now, thanks to Musk, the issue has resurfaced. Trump found himself at the center of not only a scandal, but also a deep public investigation that could jeopardize his political future. Instead of simply repaying Musk and closing the matter, Trump launched a series of personal attacks, accusing him of manipulation and insanity. He claimed that Musk had not only crossed all boundaries of decency but had also gotten involved in a fight that could cost him his political reputation. But Musk did not stand idly by. He repeatedly attacked his opponent, painting an increasingly harsh picture of how Trump was involved in dirty dealings and manipulations that he was hiding from the American people. The battlefield expanded, and it was no longer just about Trump and Musk. It was a battle for hearts and minds, for the future of America, for who would determine its direction in the coming years. With each passing day, the battle became more and more tangled, and the issues that arose became more and more significant. These two figures, representing two sides of the same coin, globalist and populist, became symbols not only of personal ambition, but of a new order in world politics, where influential figures from the business world are beginning to dictate not only economic but also political terms. What began as a simple political debate was now becoming a matter of global significance.